Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream. It is Wednesday. That is hopefully going to be a very good day for Chelsea fans tomorrow. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, as always, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you like this video. Hit the Linktree link in the description as well. Don't forget, we now have our streaming on Twitter as well as YouTube and Facebook. We've got a Discord getting set up as well this week, so make sure there's a lot going on the channel. There is a lot going on this channel. Now tomorrow we are back in the Champions League. That music, no more Conference League music, no more Conference League fixtures, no more 3:30 kickoffs, no more traveling halfway across the world to play a team that nobody's heard of. We are back. We are back in the promised land of Champions League football. And I'm going to be honest, I spoke about our fixtures last week. I'm confident. We're going to get into all of that in this live stream. We're going to talk as well about Buonanotte, who's now been included as part of the Champions League squad. We're talking Raheem Sterling, all the latest news. Press conference coming up later. I'm going to give my predicted lineup. I want you all to get involved. If you're part of the live stream, make sure you get involved and you give your thoughts as well to what you think and how we should be playing tomorrow against the Bayern Munich. I'm looking forward to this, I can't lie. Let's get a couple of things out of the way first of all, though. Let's because I've been watching a couple of live streams, been on Twitter this morning, and I'm seeing a lot of people talk about, 2012 Allianz Arena, Didier Drogba, the rest of it. We know what happened there and how magical that night was. I'm not trying to take that night away from anyone because I don't think, one, I'm not in a position to do that, and two, it was a magical night. We know that. It was a magical night, but things have changed. Times have moved on. Managers have gone. Players have gone. We've seen us in the pits of the Conference League since then. Things have changed. Now, I'm not saying we should remove 2012 out of our memory, but I think we need to file it away with one of our most successful nights as Chelsea fans, 100%. Things have changed. We know they've changed. Let's think about now, the current and the present. 2012, amazing night. Hopefully we can relive that again at some point. But we have to be honest. Things have changed. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that later on. But let's talk about Raheem Sterling, who I talk about on here quite a lot. But I feel like we've got to. I feel like we need to talk about Raheem Sterling because yesterday, as always, Raheem Sterling, the bomb squad, he put out a post yesterday on his Instagram. He basically said, it's 8:20, it's freezing cold, but I'm still committed to the cause. It says here that Raheem Sterling breaks silence with exclusive bomb squad photos. This is an article that goes on to say that he posted a couple of pics on his Instagram. 8:20, training, cold. You can see the CFC, the Chelsea badge, the crest on the training pitch at Cobham. Question I want to ask everyone is, do you think this is the right way to deal with players that are now deemed surplus to requirements at Chelsea? Is this the right way for the manager, for the owners, or whoever's making these decisions to actually deal with the situation at hand? Because you've got a player here who's on 325 grand a week. You've got other players in the squad. I'm talking Axel Dizazi. I think Washington is amongst those as well. There's other players in the squad that clearly aren't in the manager's plans. Is this the right way to deal with players by sort of bandishing them away from the main squad and having them train, hours later, 8 o'clock at night? Some are suggesting in here, obviously he's put again another post up with his training gear, showing that he's still committed to the cause. And then I think there was one more with his boots, his New Balance boots. Obviously got to get the sponsorship in there. But yeah, I mean, look, is this the right way for the manager, for whoever's calling these shots, to deal with this situation? Because he's got 2 years left. Raheem Sterling has 2 years left on a £325,000 a week contract. I just think, is this now not a moment where you think, right, you've got no Mykhailo Mudryk. I still think Jamie Gittins looks very raw. We've got Garnacho that can play there. We know who can play on the left side or even on the right side of our attack. But is there no way back for Raheem Sterling? Is there no way back for him? I feel like there's a sort of underlying sort of subliminal reason for these posts being put on his Instagram, because is it saying, I want to be part of this squad? Is he almost telling us something without telling us that he wants to be part of the squad? He still, wants to be involved in the manager's, fixtures going forward. Is he trying to tell us that? Because he doesn't need to post that. He could actually just train and we don't even know anything, and we just think he's at home chilling. But to still be obviously contracted, you got to be there, you got to be training, but to still show a willingness. And we praise Ben Chilwell. We all praise Ben Chilwell for kind of not coming out and speaking. And, we know that Ben Chilwell went through a madness with us in terms of how he left the club and he's now at Strasbourg. But Raheem Sterling's in the same kind of boat. How do we even know? I'm talking to myself here when I say this, because I've been, even last week I was talking about Raheem Sterling, but seeing him post these posts made me think slightly differently about the approach. Is this me thinking, he wants to play, but actually the manager's telling him he's not playing, but you're going to have to train at 8 o'clock at night? Is that what he's trying to tell us here? I want to be committed to the cause. I want to be part of the squad. But actually I'm not being given an opportunity because I'm now part of the bomb squad and I don't want to be. Maybe you turn down those deals with Juventus and Fulham and West Ham because actually he sees his future at Chelsea and he signed a contract. And we talk about the likes of Alexander Isak and Jan Wissa and all the other players who forced moves in the summer. But actually, when the shoe's on the other foot and the club is saying, we want you to go, why are the club able to do that? Why is the club able to get rid of a player who's under contract, who doesn't want to leave the club? Donnarumma's just had to do the same treatment at PSG with his move to City. So is this a way of Sterling trying to tell us, actually, you know what? I want to be part of the squad still. And I'm part of this team and I'm committed. Is that what this is telling us? Is this what we're trying to get from this? Am I reading too much into this? This is what I think. I think this is it. This glimpse into his preparation has intrigued fans, highlighting his professionalism and adversity. I generally do think that I've got to have some humble pie, because last week I was slating him on here. I was absolutely slating him on here. But to be fair, he's under contract. He's got 2 years left on the deal. And to be honest, we talk about players who want to get out of the club and they don't turn up for training. They're not part of the team anymore. They want to move on. They force the move. But on the flip side, this is a player that's got 2 years left on the deal and he wants to play football. And he's probably seen the likes of Tariq George ahead of him and he's thinking, actually, that should be me. I should be coming on. I should be coming on and trying to do something for this squad. Food for thought. I'll be honest, I've got to take back my words, because, like I said, I was one of those that was thinking Raheem Sterling's just being greedy, when in actual fact, he probably just wants to stay at Chelsea and fight for his place like many other people do. Can't knock him for that. Can't knock him for that at all. But there'll be more, I'm sure, that will come of this. I'm sure in January we might see a move for Sterling. We might see a move. I don't know. I'd love to see Sterling come back into the team. Because as much as he had a horrible time at Arsenal in terms of that loan, he's surely got unfinished business, I'm sure. And I said it last week, this is a player that could easily get into Thomas Tuchel's World Cup squad. I'm not saying he plays every game in the World Cup, but for someone who's been at major tournaments before for England, you would want someone like him in that team. You would want someone in there. It's quite a youthful team. Jordan Henderson's managed to wrangle his way back into the squad after his move to Brentford. Sterling could be exactly the same. Exactly the same. We'll have to see. I think the fact that he's been included in the squad for the Premier League has been registered. Again, maybe as a backup with Zazi. But to not play football for near enough, 5 months, 4 months, I just don't know what club comes in for him. I don't know who comes in for Sterling. It's a shame for him. It's an absolute shame because he's a good player. We know how good he is. He's a good player, but he's got to be playing football. He can't be sat on the sidelines. Can't be sat on the sidelines at all. Let's move on. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe. Smash the subscribe button. Like the video. All of that good stuff as well. We've got some news. Some news. Facundo Bonanate, the guy that everyone thought was going to be left out the Champions League squad, has now got his wish. So some of you lot got egg on your face because I said last week what was the big fuss about. And here we are. He's now included. This has come about because Dario Asugo, as we know, has had surgery on his thigh after an international break injury with Portugal. He's now replaced him in the Champions League Chelsea squad. Now, he is in contention, apparently, to play tomorrow's game against Bayern Munich in the Allianz Arena. This is part of the UEFA Article 31.14c of the regulations, where you can adjust your squad based on an injury to your original pickings in the squad registration. So Bonanate's got his wish. I'll be honest, I was impressed with him. On Saturday. I thought he looked good. I was surprised to see him in the lineup, but he looked good. He looked good on the ball. I think it'd be a red flag if we start him tomorrow night, if I'm being honest. But it's good that he's got him. It's good that he's got his inclusion into the squad. My worry is that, are we leaving ourselves a little bit short now? I mean, we can't be helped. Asugo's injured. We can't magically get him back into the squad. But Lavia, we know, he's back in training with Badiashile. I think today they've been training, so you'd expect him to be obviously on the plane and maybe in contention to be on the bench for tomorrow's game. But Asugo, I think, was key for us in that midfield. I said it before, the Club World Cup, he looked very good. He looked very calm, composed on the ball. He looked like someone that we could have utilised, especially in some of these Champions League games. But are we leaving ourselves short? I feel like we need, I don't know, I'm looking at our midfield options now. Santos, of course, is an option. Fernandes, Caicedo, Lavia, if and when he can stay fit. So you do have a bit of rotation, but I feel like we've overcompensated in certain areas of our transfer strategy. And some of it I'm only realising now after the window shut. But I am going to say this again. I love Bonanate as a player. I think he's got a high ceiling, very good potential. But did we need him? I don't think we did. As much as he played well on Saturday, is he going to get the nod at the Allianz Arena against Bayern Munich, who are smashing teams left, right, centre? I don't know. I personally don't think he does, but we'll have to see. Let's move our attention to Bayern Munich. As I said, plenty of history between the two. 2012. But the most recent encounter was 2019-2020 season, round of 16. Yeah, if you remember, that was the COVID season. So yeah, you had 165 days apart due to the break caused by COVID-19. Bayern won 7-1 on aggregate. Reece James is the only player from that tie still at the club. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's why I said at the very start of this is a whole new Chelsea. Let's forget about, look, the music, when the Champions League music comes on tomorrow night, we are going to be back, and we know that. But it's a whole new Chelsea squad. This is a whole new Chelsea. Some of these kids, we have to call them kids, they ain't played in the Champions League before. They haven't played at the top level in European football. So some of these players, I'm not saying they're going to struggle, but I'm just saying it's a whole different ball game to the Conference League, a massive one. Here's our last previous meetings at Munich. So we've only won one, and that was on penalties. We lost 2005, quarterfinal, second leg, 3-2. Obviously, the famous final win, 19th of May And then, as I said, we lost 2020, last round of the 16, 4-1. And I want to show you guys something in a second, because there was a lot of talk and a couple of other podcasts that I was listening to. Look, Bayern Munich are a force going forward. They're a force going forward. I don't think anyone can disprove that. They are an absolute force going forward with some of their attacking options. As I said, they're scoring goals for fun. But defensively, I'm going to show you guys in a minute. It says here that Chelsea have won each of the past 4 group stage matches in the Champions League in 2022 against AC Milan twice, RB Salzburg and Dinamo Zagreb. Chelsea are aiming to win 7 consecutive away games in European competition for the first time. Other than the current run, we won 6 in a row on the road in 2003, 2004 in the Champions League. And we've only lost just 2 against Juventus in 2021 and Dinamo Zagreb away in 2022. Of our last 23 matches in the Champions League group or league stages, winning 15. Here we go. We've faced 10 different German teams in European competitions. We've not played more clubs than any other nation. So we should be familiar to the Deutschland. We should be familiar. That's crazy. This is an interesting thing, because obviously, you know, Jamie Gittins played a lot of football for Dortmund, 23 matches there. You know, Reece James is topping, in terms of Chelsea players, topping it with 30 matches as well. Gittins, interesting. It'll be interesting to see if he gets in the lineup. He's not in my predicted lineup, but I'm sure we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Here is another good milestone for tomorrow night as well. If selected, Cole Palmer will make his 100th appearance for Chelsea across all competitions. He's scored his 44th goal for the club at Brentford on Saturday. I'll be honest, I want to see more from Cole though. We need to see more. As much as Cole Palmer is Cole Palmer, we know what he can do on his day. I mean, I feel he should have a lot more goals than 44 and 100 appearances. Maybe I'm being critical and harsh, but I'm thinking back to those times where, you know, he goes missing in games, or he didn't perform well, or he was snatching at the chances last season. We need to see, I am still heavily convinced we need to see more from Cole Palmer this season. And I'll be honest, a lot of pundits were saying it at the weekend. I think even John Obi Mikel said on his podcast, you know, Cole Palmer just walks back into the team. You know, you build your team around, I don't think you build your team around Cole Palmer. I generally don't think you build your team around any of our players at the moment. I think the 2 in midfield, Moises Caicedo and Enzo, potentially, everything else is fair game. Everything else is fair game because, okay, Cucurella, yes, he's a starter. Reece James has been on the bench more time than he's been on the pitch for Enzo Maresca. I think the 2 centre-backs, you can interchange them, and I'm not agreeing with that, but there's a case that Fofana or Colwell, when he comes back, could take either Tosun or Chalobah's spot. Sanchez is not good enough, we know that, in terms of consistency. Neto, yes, but again, you know, Garnacho has 3, 4, 5 games, or Gittins suddenly starts performing well. Neto's looking like he could be on the bench. So, and our striker options, João Pedro, Liam Delap, it's a toss of a coin who you're starting. So, and again, dependent on the game, depending on who we're playing. Do we have a team that we're playing against a low block? Do we have a team that's play a high line? So all these things factor in. But for me, I need to see more from Cole Palmer. Whether he starts on the right, starts as the 10, I need more. These sort of games tomorrow night are where we're going to assess Cole Palmer and see what level he's actually at. Playing against Brentford, scoring against them, that's one thing. When you're coming up against the best in Europe, against the Bayern Munichs, the Napolis, and this team, that team, eventually Real Madrid. And I know people are going to talk about the Club World Cup. They can talk about the Club World Cup as much as they want. Talk about it to your blue in the face, but let's not make out the Club World Cup and Champions League form, fatigue, fitness, all of that. You know, one tournament at the end of a very grueling season, and something where you have to be on your job to even get out of the league stage of the Champions League, the same thing, because they're completely different. completely different things. And Cole Palmer was a brilliant player in the Club World Cup. But I need to see that in the Champions League now. Let's separate the two things. So you need to see more from Cole, 100%. 100% we need to see more from Cole Palmer. This is last season stats for Bayern Munich. They won, obviously, the Bundesliga. They got to the last round of the 16 of their domestic cup. They were quarter-finalists in the Champions League, quarter-finalists in the Club World Cup, and of course, Harry Kane, who we're going to talk about in a minute, 41 goals for them last season. So they have a good attacking force. Bayern Munich have won their opening match in each of their last 21 Champions League campaigns, keeping 18 clean sheets. Their last defeat was against Deportivo La Coruña in September 2002. Listen, some of you lot probably watching this weren't even born in 2002. As much as I'm talking about their defensive weaknesses, going forward, they're a force, and they always have been a force. They're unbeaten at home since Inter defeated them in the Champions League quarterfinals on the 8th of April as well. So there's a bit of history in there for you. I'm not going to read all of this because we could be here all day, but this is their lineup that they went with against Hamburg on Saturday. Now, I generally don't think, in fact, I'm going to try and get this up on here, see if I can get it up on here for you. It might be easier. Let's see if we can find it on here, because look, with Bayern Munich, I mean, look at that. There's smashing teams for fun. 5-0, 6-0. They're not playing games. They're not playing games at all. Let's go back to a couple of their previous fixtures. Now, this is last weekend's fixture. I generally don't think they're going to start with this lineup tomorrow night, but just for argument's sake for today, this is the team they went with. Now, I'm going to start front to back this time rather than defense to attack. Harry Kane, we know he's a force. We know what Harry Kane is. We know about him. I don't even need to talk about him. We know what he's about. The one thing I will say with Harry Kane is if you isolate him out of the game, we know he likes to drop into the midfield. He likes to pick the ball up and carry it forward for himself sometimes as well, link up the play for some of the wide players like Diaz or Elise. But we have to honestly we also know Harry Kane can be a poacher. He can be one of those players that would just sit off the two centre-backs and he just attacks and strikes where the iron is hot. So very good, world-class striker. We know this already. Luis Diaz and Elise. This is where our fullbacks have to be fullbacking tomorrow night. Sorry, they have to be, because Luis Diaz for even for Liverpool was a problem. I feel like he's improved his game. I've watched snippets of Bayern Munich this season so far, and he looks very, very comfortable in that Bayern Munich team. Very comfortable in that Bayern Munich team. So much so they got Gnabry playing as a 10, and he was a winger. So I'm telling you from now, Luis Diaz, and we know what Elise, we know about Michael Elise already. Like, it goes without saying. Cucurella is going to have his night busy with Elise. Reece James or Malo Gusto, whichever one it is going to have their problems with Luis Diaz. This is where I'm starting to think, because obviously Goretzka, I don't know if he's injured, but Goretzka surely should be still in. Is he still not Bayern Munich player? He should be there. They've got Pavlovic in the midfield. This is against Hamburg. Kimmich, again, very good midfielder. We know what he can do. Very good on the ball. But listen, our midfield should not be and cannot be getting dictated to by that midfield, even if it is another midfield for Bayern Munich. Our midfield of Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez cannot be getting overrun in the midfield. Can't be getting... I spoke about Brentford after the game on Saturday night. I felt like we were second best at times in the midfield on Saturday. I felt like we were allowing Brentford. We had so much possession of the ball, but we allowed Brentford to dictate the midfield. And sometimes that meant them standing off us and allowing us to have the ball in the midfield. Can't do the same tomorrow night. I keep saying tonight. I wishful thinking. I want the game to come. But this defence for Bayern Munich, Lamar at right back, a defensive midfielder at right back, whether it's Pedro Neto, whether it's Garnacho, whether it's Tariq George, whether it's my little lad who's 7, whoever it is at left wing, you're taking on Lamar every single time tomorrow night. I don't care who it is playing in that role. There's no excuses for this back line. Upamecano, flight risk. We've got to take the game to him. Tar, I don't mind. I think he's got enough about. See, Upamecano, whether it's João Pedro, whoever it is playing in that number 9 role, and the 2 wide players or the left-sided player, whether that's Neto, Garnacho, whoever, that is where you exploit this team. That is where you exploit the team, because of course I got Manuel Neuer in goal, very still, experienced goalkeeper, but that left side for us, if Maresca's got anything about him, exploit it, because you're playing Lamar and Upamecano. This is a Bayern Munich team you can get to. Attacking wise, you have to guard against complacency. We can't do what we've done against Brentford and switch off in crucial moments of the game. The first goal was so easy. If you remember, it was Wesley Fofana and Tosin, and it was just a ball over the top, quick cut in and bang, it was a goal. We can't do that against this attacking 4 of even Gnabry and Diaz, Elise, Harry Kane. They will take their chances. This is not Brentford, so they will take their chances. But for me, you have to exploit where you can in this Bayern Munich team. And for me, it's down that left side. I think Elise will potentially push up. There's obviously Company's teams that like to press high and, have a lot of intensity in terms of their attacking. So I think the likes of Diaz and Elise will press up. They'll try and force our fullbacks to either press up or they sit back and have to defend quite well. But then that leaves Lamar, for me, very exposed. And if it's exposed, you've got to exploit it. You've got to exploit it. That's all I'm going to say. You've got to exploit it. You've got to exploit it. But look, Bayern Munich don't always line up like this. They don't. Formation-wise, yes. But they're a team that is very, very good. They're a team that is very, very good. And if we're not careful, because this, to be honest, this game tomorrow night, yes, it's important. You want to get 3 points, your first opening game back in the Champions League. But you see on the weekend against Manchester United, and this is where I think Maresca, and I've said it on here many, many times before, he has to make sure he picks the right team. He has to pick the right team. Yeah, they've lost Walter Mad as well. Stuttgart, haven't they? So I'm just thinking in this game, how did Stuttgart not even win that? But either way, let's go back to Bayern Munich. So Goretzka, Kimmich, see, this is what I mean. Now, if he's available, I would reckon Bayern Munich might start similar to this lineup. I think they start with this lineup because Goretzka can play centre back as well. But I think as a DM, I think he'll be able to cope with our midfield if he's in there. I think Company would be stupid not to have him in the team if he's still available. Gnabry on the left, on the right, sorry. Diaz on the left. Elise playing just behind Harry Kane. Interchangeable again. Something we need to guard against when we talk about our defensive side of things. But you want Saturday, the game against Man United for me is more important than this game. This game tomorrow night, yes, it's important. Yes, you want to win. Yes, you want to kickstart your Champions League and all the rest of it. And there's going to be games where when we play like Paphos, we're expected to win. I actually think we're expected to win tomorrow night. I know we're underdogs. We might be deemed as the underdogs. But that Bayern Munich team is there. The Bayern Munich team is this. This is not the Bayern Munich team that we faced when we had Robben and it had all these other players in it. It's not that team. I said at the very start of this is a completely different Chelsea squad, but it's a completely different Bayern Munich squad. Yes, one that can score goals, smash teams 5-0, make it look very easy, but very similar to Man City, very similar to Liverpool in some aspects as well. If you take the game to them, you can actually get a result. you actually can get a result against them. Now, Man United is a totally different kettle of fish, and we'll talk about them later on in the week. But we should not be going to the Allianz Arena and just thinking, because it's Bayern Munich, let's not try anything. Let's not try and win the game. The games, I said last week, all our games are winnable games. The only game that I consider a really tough one. Let's have a look at the fixtures for Chelsea. The one game that I think is possibly a difficult game in the Champions League for us is not Bayern Munich. It isn't Benfica. It's not Ajax. It's definitely not Karabakh. If we lose to Karabakh, you ain't seen me for a week on this channel, I'll tell you that much. This is the game. Barcelona at the Bridge is probably our most difficult game out of our fixtures that we've got in the Champions League. It's probably the most difficult one. And then I would probably say Napoli. Then I'd probably go with Napoli. Atalanta I'm not too phased about, but Napoli's another one that I think actually difficult game. Difficult game. Paphos, no, but this game here, 28th of January next year, Napoli, that's a tough game for us. That's a tough game. And at that point as well, we'll know whether we need to win. Is that a must win, or is it a game that we can rest players because we're, automatically qualified at that point in the group stage of the Champions League? But if we're not and we need to get that win, tough game. Tough game. All the other games are winnable games. Bayern Munich smash teams. But let's be honest as well, you can get to them. You can get to them. It's not an impossible task to get to this team. It's just not. It's just not an impossible task to get to them. Now, I want to go into our builder, our predicted lineup. Because I think there's going to be... See, Maresca threw everyone off. Oh, it threw me off on Saturday. It threw me off completely. Because I did not expect to see certain players in the team. Let's go back. Let's see if we can find what team we went with. I should know this, but I've slept since then. So let's go back to the team that we had up on Saturday. Just gone. Where we should have got 3 points. Felt like a defeat on Saturday. I can't lie. Actually felt like a massive defeat. Now, this is the team we went with. I was surprised. I was shocked. And the reason I can't remember the lineup is because I've blocked it out of my head. We had 3 right backs on the bench. It's all coming back to me now. But maybe, and this is where I said, I remember saying this on Saturday night, this result does not seem as bad as if we win tomorrow night. If we lose tomorrow night, this result looks even worse than it does already. This looks worse. Because you can see already from the substitutions and the time that they came on, triple substitution, James, Cucurella and George come on at half time. And then 10 minutes after that, you bring Cole Palmer. So that's the team potentially you should have started with. I still wouldn't have bought Tariq George on if I'm being honest, but Cole Palmer, James, Cucurella should have all started on Saturday. All should have started on Saturday. So maybe there's a question now about whether Maresca, who rested 3 right backs, does he play the one that we expect to play? But let's start with our goalkeeper. So I think it will be Robert Sanchez in goal. I don't think there can be any other goalkeeper that starts this game. I think it's with Sanchez, it's difficult because I think he's obviously started, the back end of last season. He finished it really well. He took that form into the Club World Cup. And, he hasn't had, he's made a couple of mistakes maybe in terms of distribution and all the rest of it. But overall, in terms of his goalkeeping, in terms of him, I felt like he kept it down to 2-2 on Saturday. I think it could have been a lot worse. So I think we have to go with Sanchez. I'm going to start from my left side today because I'm still having a little think in my head, but I'm going with Cucurella who was rested for the best part of the game for the first half against Brentford. I think Maresca can't overthink this game. He can't overthink it. I think Saturday night was a mixed bag of trying to rest players but also win the game. And I always say play your best players first and then you rest them, you bring them off, get your comfortable 2-0, 3-0 win, get the lead, and then you start resting players. Don't start with a team that is very inconsistent. João Heto coming in, hasn't played the start of the game for us. Bonanate as well. Don't give these guys debuts. Just let's get the best team out and then you bring the players in. So I hope he doesn't overthink this tomorrow with the Manchester game in mind. He can't do that. He has to get used. Maresca has to get used to playing 2-3 games a week. Play on the Saturday, play in the week, play on the Saturday. He has to get used to that. He's going to have to get used to that. It's just a simple thing. You're back in the Champions League and all the rest of it now. So he's going to have to get used to that. Now, I'm going for the same two in the centre-back roles. I can't see... Obviously Fofana's back. And this is where it worries me because I feel like Maresca will try and play Fofana. I'm not having that. I'm going with my trusted two. Trev Chalobah, Big Trev. And I'm going to have to stick Tosin in there. Now, the only thing I'll say about this is both, not one, but both of these centre-backs have to be on their job tomorrow night. Elise, Diaz, Harry Kane. And I haven't even mentioned Nicolas Jackson yet. I've purposely not mentioned him, but I don't think Nicolas Jackson gets on. I think he could get subbed on. I don't think he starts the game, but I think he'll get subbed on at some point, especially if Bayern Munich are 2-0, 3-0 up. I think he comes on and I think he could even nick a goal against us. That's if we're not switched on as a centre-back partnership and the two fullbacks are not in unison with them as well. Because Nicolas Jackson's going to want to celebrate and score against us. He might feel he's been wrong done by the club and how his deal went, his move to Bayern Munich and all the noise around his move before and after. So he might want to try and prove a point to us as a club. But I'm trusting these two here. I'm trusting Chalobah. I'm trusting Tosin. I am going to go. I'm sick of seeing and hearing talk about he needs to manage his minutes. I'm not having that anymore. This is the Champions League. You're the only player that has played in the Champions League for the previous time we won it for this club. You've got to be in the squad. He's got to be in the squad. I know he came on and he played, 45 minutes against Brentford, but he has to be on the pitch tomorrow night. Reece James has to be on the pitch. Not Malo Gusto, not Achiampong, who I think a lot of people are expecting to see in the lineup tomorrow. Look, Achiampong done very well in the Conference League. This is the Champions League. This is something that you put out your strongest squad. Your strongest 11 has to start the game. Unless there's an injury, unless there's a suspension or other reasons why the player can't play, you start your strongest squad. You don't rest your players in the Champions League. You just don't do that. So Reece James has to start at right back. Malo Gusto, if you're needed, can come on. Achiampong, if you're needed, can come on. But Reece James has to be in this lineup. He has to start the game. Two in midfield. Of course, I'm going for Enzo. I'm going for Moises Caicedo, who I think, again, goes back to my point. You start your strongest squad, but then you're talking about substitutions in these roles, in these areas of the pitch. And obviously, Andre Santos is probably the most obvious choice to come on as a substitution. But I think we have to start again. Start with your strongest squad. Start with the two that are in form. Enzo, I think we'll get up. We'll talk about in a minute, but he'll get luxury to go a bit more forward. And that goes back to my point about the two in midfield for Bayern Munich. He should get a luxury to kind of have a bit more free reins to go forward and support the attacking options of us when we suddenly have transition of the ball tomorrow. Now, I'm going to do this slightly differently, but I'm going for João Pedro in the attack. I think he has to be there. We haven't really got another choice unless we put Tariq George up there, which would be embarrassing. I love Tariq George, but I'm starting to question certain things about him and his development. So I reckon rather than trying to sell him to Fulham, we should have tried to loan him to Fulham and allow him to sort of gain more experience, because I looked at him against Brentford and I wasn't impressed with George. I don't know. And against Fulham as well, I think he came on, didn't he, as the number 9 for Fulham. I wasn't impressed. But this is where it gets tricky, because I know obviously Esteval Willian is back in training. I don't personally think I could start Esteval Willian in this game. Brilliant player. If you've watched any of these videos before, you know that I have said so much good things about him and how good he's going to be. And, you know, he's, for me, one of the best things to happen at the club in the last couple of seasons or so. But I just think, again, play your best players. You have to rest him. Maresca's already come out and said he wants to manage his minutes due to his age, the amount of football he's played over the last 4 months or so. Club World Cup, coming straight into our team, played, I think, both pre-season games. He played the West Ham game. I think he came on, didn't he, as a sub as well. Played in the internationals just recently as well for Brazil. He's played a lot of football. So I think we need to, and there's options. There's other options that I think we bring in. Now I'm going to start here. Because I think Cole Palmer does need to start. I think, as I said before, I want to see more from Cole. Cole in the 10, I'm not a big fan of Cole in the 10. I think Cole plays better. Cole Palmer plays better off the right of the attacking midfielders. I think he thrives a little bit more there. But I think in this instance, if we're trying to make the best squad that we have available to us to play against Bayern Munich tomorrow, I think Cole Palmer in the 10. I'm going with Pedro Neto on the right. And this is where I get a bit, I'm sort of on the fence a little bit. I can't decide between Garnacho and Gittins. I'm going to pause there for a minute because I want to see what you lot are saying in the chat. But you have to wonder, does Gittins get the start? Yeah. Information supreme, straight facts. Reece James must start. He's got to start. Might see both Reece James and MG start tomorrow. I mean, look, Reece James has to start. Like, he has to start. Reece James, there's no doubt about it. He has to start. We might get a bit more information from the press conference, which I think is at 6:15 tonight. But for me, Reece James has to start this game. Let's flip back to the lineup. I want to know what you guys think in the chat, or let me know if you're on Twitter or if you're on YouTube, wherever you're at, Facebook. Let me know what you think. Does Gittins? Now I'm thinking Gittins because he's obviously played a lot of football for Dortmund in the Champions League. That's number one. But he's also played against Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. Is this a game where he can really show us what he can do? Bar the mistake for the goal against Brentford, I was actually impressed with Garnacho. And if you take away maybe that lapse of concentration for the defensive goal, you know, the goal that Brentford score, Carvalho scores for Brentford, I thought Garnacho came on and he looked comfortable. My question is, I think he's got 6 starts or 6 games in the Champions League previous to this and 1 goal for Garnacho. But I think Gittins, for me, I think he gets the nod. I don't agree with it essentially, but I think just based on what I've said in terms of him being able to have the previous experience against Bayern Munich, he's got more Champions League experience. And I think this game here, you want players that have played, like I said before, a lot of these players have not played at this level. They've not played at the Champions League level. Yes, they played at Club World Cup and, you know, all the rest of it. But I'm talking Champions League where people take not to say people didn't take the Club World Cup serious, the teams, but Champions League is a totally different ball game to the Club World Cup. We need as much experience at this level. I think Gittins will give us that. I think he'll have a bit more of an incentive from a personal point of view in terms of playing against Bayern Munich before, missing out on the Bundesliga last season as well with Dortmund. I think I would start him. And again, I go back to my point, which I made before. Try and get their lineup back up. Bayern Munich's lineup, they got Lamar at right back. They have him at right back. Gittins will have Gittins should, not will, should and will have a field day against him if we play him. He should have a field day. We know there's no Musiala. We know there's no Alphonso Davies for Bayern Munich. We know that Rafael Guerreiro is out. So this for me personally, I start Gittins over Garnacho. And again, you've got options. You've got options on the bench. You have options. Just to remind ourselves, this is the lineup that they had Bayern Munich at the weekend. Of course, they rested Goretzka. They had Gnabry playing on the right-hand side with Elise as the 10 in the previous game before that. But Lamar at right back and Upamecano at right centre-back. Whoever's playing there, I've gone with Jamie Gittins, but whoever's playing on that left side for us, it's going to be like December 25th. Christmas is come early. For whoever's on that left side for us, Christmas has come early because you've got two players that you can get to them. This isn't Brentford. They're not going to be playing a low block. They're going to be up for the game. Attacking wise, like I said, they're very, very dangerous. And this is where I think it goes back to my point for us. I think we'll see a lot of this, as we always do. And I'm always doing this, but I think the reason you play Reece James, I don't like Gusto trying to do the inverted role. I don't like Gusto doing the inverted role. I don't think he can play it well. I wouldn't trust Achiampong doing that against Bayern Munich and the counter press that Bayern Munich are going to have. I just would not trust anyone bar Reece James. Bar Reece James. In that moment, Reece James is obviously the most comfortable playing in the inverted role. But I think his role tomorrow night is going to be so important, Enzo Fernandez. Again, this is why I would have Gittins. You do argue the case though as well, Garnacho, for Garnacho's case, he's just as good on that left side, I think. From the small sample size we got to see on Saturday, the link up with his Argentinian counterpart in Fernandez, I think, do you give them the opportunity to work together a little bit more as well? So it is literally a toss of a coin between Gittins and Garnacho. I've gone with Gittins purely on the fact that he's got more experience in the Champions League. He knows his Bayern Munich team as well. He's got experience playing against them before in recent times. I think Cole, again, playing as the 10. I'm not in favour of it, but I think Esteval, you could argue a case, do you bring Esteval into the team? Do you bring Esteval into the team and do this? We're swapping and changing the wrong people here, but do you bring Esteval into the team? Neto on the left, Esteval on the right, and João Pedro up front, and you don't play either Gittins or Garnacho. I've been raving about Esteval for so long, but do we trust him? Is this game not too early for him? Because I think he's capable of playing in this game. And I don't think he'd be fazed by playing in the Champions League game for us. I don't think that's even an issue for him. But do we want to run him into the ground? Is my question. When you've got Garnacho there, you've got Gittins there. Do you want to run him into the ground? Do you want to save him for a very weakened and low fatigue, low morale Manchester United, do you want to rest him for that game? Because I would. I'd rather see him play against Manchester United and run riot against Luke Shaw, like Doku did on Sunday. But I think for me, it's not every game we need to play Esteval. This is a crucial game, 100%. But I think the other option I had with Neto and Gittins, I think is probably the more sensible. And you maybe give Esteval 30, 25 minutes of the second half, give him some minutes. Obviously missed the previous game as well. So you want to give him a bit of minutes just to be fresh for the weekend's fixture. But let me know what you think. What would you change? Have I gone too mad? Have I missed anything glaringly obvious? No Liam Delap, obviously, injured. We know Colwell's out. Let's go back to the other one, see if we can get our injuries up. I think it's the same as it was anyway, unless there's any fresh ones which Maresca will give us later on in the press conference, which we'll try and do another video based on that afterwards, later on this evening. But I don't think it's hard to call. It's hard to call. It is hard to call. But again, no, this is what I'm talking about. Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling would be brilliant in a game like this, I think. At least an option. You don't want to play Esteval, okay, no problem. You put Pedro Neto on. Then you've got the likes of Garnacho. You've got Sterling on the bench if you needed him. I think personally, this is where we've messed up in terms of the bomb squad a little bit now, thinking back to it in hindsight. And we should have actually had someone like Raheem Sterling in this squad. Someone who, again, who's experienced at this level, knows what it means to play here at this level, Champions League. So I don't know. I feel like we've maybe dropped the ball with him a little bit there, and maybe we should have brought him into the squad and allowed him to play some games in the Champions League. But we shall have to see. But let me know what you think. Let me know your comments. I'm going for my score prediction. I'm going to go for. I think we can beat Bayern Munich. I think we win. I think we win 3-1. Very ambitious. Very, very ambitious. But I think the defense for Bayern Munich is not that good. And the reason they smash teams in the Bundesliga is because there's not that many good strikers in the Bundesliga. And when you've got the likes of Elise, you've got the likes of Harry Kane, you've got Luis Diaz, you've now got Nicolas Jackson on your books as well, you are going to smash teams 5-0, 3-0, 4-0 in the Bundesliga. But our midfield is just as good as their midfield, if not better. Our attacking options are on par with their attacking options. I would say we've got one of the best left-backs in European football, in Marc Cucurella. On his day, I think we've got one of the best in the world in Reece James, defensively as a right back. I do question the two in centre-back, Tosin and Chalobah. I do think they worry me at times, but Chalobah's been one of the most effective Premier League defenders in terms of tackles, interceptions this season so far. And Tosin, I think, again, I think this is why we brought him in, for the calmness, for the experience, for the leadership on and off the field. You got to see that again on against Brentford. He's trying to use his leadership skills with Wesley Fofana. It didn't work, obviously, but he tried, and I'm happy that he's trying to do that. Sanchez in goal, we stuck with him. There's no point trying to talk about other goalkeepers while the window's shut. We're stuck with Sanchez. He's our goalkeeper. We've got to back him. Simple as that. Whether we like it or not, he's the goalkeeper that's going to be starting these kind of games. We have to back him now. Attacking wise, as long as we don't overthink it and Buonanotte is not in, I don't want to see him in the team. Good player, but I don't want to see him starting the game. Badiashile, we know, has been training again today as well. Lavia, some of these players have been out for too long. Been out for way too long. So we need to start thinking about the games like Lincoln City. Play your Badiashiles in those games, and Lavia, give him the minutes. Even Gittins, I'd start Gittins and give him 90 minutes against Lincoln City. Just a stat pad, just to get a couple assists, couple of shots on target, maybe even a goal, maybe 2 goals. Stat pad against Lincoln City. But tomorrow night, you want to win. You want to win. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the Linktree link in the description. We are going to be back later on this evening after the press conference. If anything changes, we'll let you know. We'll get the latest from the press conference from Maresca at 6:15 as well. So make sure you hit the notification for that. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back soon. We're out, man. Up the Chelsea.